Autistic Gamer 7, and welcome back to another Sims 4 Occult discussions video. This one is going to be a little update video, so it's not going to be talking about any particular cult and going in depth in any that I think should, come in, or if they were to come in, how I think they should be. So, it's more of just talking about, for one, occults that have come out that either I made a video on, or I was going to make a video on, that have come out since I started this series, and comparing them to what I would have liked to see from them, and how did they turn out, and all that good stuff. And also, if there's been any comments on any of the videos that had something that I wanted to talk about in more depth, or added something to it that I felt needed to be an update video, I'm going to be doing that as well in this one. I also will be doing sort of a refresher on what occults we have already done in this series. Now, I will have a link down in the description below to the playlist as a whole, but for this particular video, since it's sort of an update video, I'm going to be including individual links to each video that has happened. And the first video was basically just talking about my plans and all the current occults at the time and how I felt about those occults. Then there was the witches one, which obviously we did get spellcasters, but I had that video actually come out before spellcasters, and then my break sort of happened, so though I did record 2 more videos, those videos didn't come out until a while later because of all the stuff that's happened. You'll have to go see one of my update videos for that. But yeah, I took a really long break, even though I didn't intend to. But yeah, then there was the werewolves video, and then zombies, fairies, elves, dragons, my honorable mentions, which were some that people had mentioned in a tweet that I had, because I came up with this idea and I did put a tweet out there just to see if anyone would add stuff to what I was planning on saying, or occults that I was planning on talking about. And basically occults that were mentioned a whole lot are getting individual videos, or ones that I could come up with good ideas for, or interesting ideas for. Got individual videos. The honorable mentions were ones that I didn't know exactly how to set them apart and make them unique and interesting and fun in Sims, as to be to become one whole separate occult. And then also the pets and creatures video, which I was almost about to forget, but I literally just recorded the video for that one. I'm recording them literally one after the other. So, all the other videos were posted. The pets and creatures one hasn't been posted yet, but yeah, anyway. So, it is still before this video. Now, like I'd already said, spellcasters technically have already come out, versus when I was talking about witches. Another one that came out that actually didn't get a video, but was going to, was robots. So I have this lovely notebook that has pages that I've written into it for all of these occults and things. And robots, where they at? Right there they are. So robots, I even made notes and everything for the robots one, and was going to do a video on it, but by the time I got around to making these videos again and recording them, the robots had already come out with University. So talking about those two, I am going to be honest. When it comes to the occults that have come out, vampires is still my favorite occult on how they've done it. So basically, I mean, vampires are one of my favorite type of creatures out there or whatever anyway. So they do sort of have that going for them, but at the same time, it's literally just how it is. The vampires just, to me, are the best well-done occult that they've done. I had real high hopes for the spellcasters because they were getting a game pack of their own, so because they got that, like the vampires did, versus basically any other occult that's in the game, aliens, mermaids, technically the robots also are included in this, plant sims, sort of. They were brought in an expansion, so they wasn't the strong focus, versus with vampires and spellcasters, they were the strong focus of their pack. So I really had high hopes for the spellcasters. I still enjoy the spellcasters, I still like them, but I will say when it comes to some of the spells and stuff you can learn, it just seems a repeat or a slightly done way of something similar that the Sims already can do in other ways. I think if I haven't played with spellcasters too much as of recently. I started recently playing with them again, so I never got too in depth with them. But, which that there should say something. But, I do like the potion making. I really did like the potion making. I love the world that, I forget, what is that world? Does it have it has a name, right? Right? Oh, magic world that's falling apart. Anyway, that world, I love that world. I love how it looks. I like that you technically can choose from the different sages, but technically you can also do other, like, you know, you could technically be all three magic types plus potion making. I feel like if you start leaning more towards one than the others should be a little bit harder to learn, but I don't think I notice any difference. I think the practical magic is one of my favorite ones, because, again, some of the other stuff, just seems like, you know, reuse things from, like, the sim ray gun, I know that one especially, and stuff like that, so I just wish there would have been more new added to it when it comes to the actual spells and stuff. I love the world they went to. I love some of the details of that and stuff, and the fact that we did get brooms and things like that. But I would like more spell options and more in-depth spells. Some of the spells just seem like reuse of stuff that Sims can do from other things or other ways, or slightly similar to other occult Sims stuff that they can do. But then again, that is, I haven't fully explored some of the magic spells enough, necessarily. I do like with the practical magic, the fact that makes, like, doing stuff around your house so much easier. That's why it's one of my favorite ones. I do know there's the one to bring back Sims, which is nice. I definitely like that option. I do know in one of my videos, so this is sort of going to what I was going to do in the later half of the video, but just to bring it up, I had someone, which I'll say the names of the people in the comments that did these comments once I get to that part, but I had someone mention if zombies were a thing that they would like spellcasters to be able to potentially make a zombie. And that would be cool, like if they did add zombies and you used, I forget the spell's name, but you got to bring a sim back to life. Sometimes it did bring them back to life, and sometimes it just made them a zombie. That would be a cool thing. If they added that would add a little bit more to the spellcasters. And I think adding a little bit more to certain packs from other packs is fine, as long as you don't do it too much and it isn't like a full thing of like My First Pet stuff. I think My First Pet stuff just went a little too far of adding stuff to cats and dogs. And plus it was also so close to cats and dogs. I think that was a bigger thing. Obviously, if packs are really far apart and they're making them and they come up with this small idea to add on to, like, oh, this would be cool with the vampires or whatever, like, that's fine. I think the fact that My First Pet stuff just had so much in that pack that relied on you having cats and dogs, and also the fact that it was so close to cats and dogs, I think was its biggest downfall and, like, mistake. So them adding stuff to maybe previous occults in new packs is fine to me. Or adding stuff to new occults that reflect back onto, like, I know the mermaids can do, like, call thunderstorm and stuff like that, but I'm not entirely sure if you didn't have seasons, if that's a thing they can still do. I'm not really sure. I don't ever experiment and take my packs out to know whether or not they can do those things or not. So someone might need to tell me that down in the comments below, if they can still technically call a thunderstorm whether you have seasons or not. But the fact that so many people have seasons, I know seasons was one of the big ones that a lot of people wanted, so, you know, may not be that big of a deal for that reason. But yeah, adding little things here and there to new occults or old occults through new packs, I think is fine, as long as they don't overdo it. So something like being able to bring zombies into the equation using spellcasters would be pretty fun and pretty cool. Or if, like, there was a side effect, like, you could accidentally mess up the spell of bringing someone back to life and you don't fully bring them back to life and now they're just a zombie, would be cool. So, or if they just could turn Sims into zombies where, like, I want to kill you but not all the way. So yeah, I wish there was more unique spells and things like that. But like I said, I did really like the potion stuff. I love the world. I actually don't mind Glimmerbrook itself too much. It has more of a foresty feel to it, and it does and it's a little bit differently for that reason. Like, it's foresty, but not, like, in the Granite Falls type foresty. But yeah, just looking at the spellcasters themselves, I just wish there was a little bit more options to them. But yeah, that was just me. And I also wish there was a thing, like, the three sages were more like they did, like, you know, cooperate together. Obviously, they're in the same building and stuff like that, but also was more like, you know, a coven type thing. Like, yeah, we communicate and stuff like that, but this is our coven, and you stick to us, and we do this way, and, like, you could choose covens in a way, and, like, you had certain rules to follow by, because you're a coven, or whatever. So, I would have liked that option. That was one thing that I really sort of wanted with witches, that after watching more shows and stuff like that, I like the coven aspect, because I've seen it done differently in a few different shows where some covens are really, really close. They're tight-knitted, and it works, and their rules are not too ridiculous, and things like that, and they're always there for each other, but then there's some that are corrupted and stuff. So I would have liked that idea. Overall, spellcasters were not bad, in all honesty. And once you take all the occults in the game, they definitely would be second after vampires. That being said, vampires and spellcasters got their own pack. So I'd almost expect that, but I will say one of the most disappointing ones is probably, well, if I really wanted to count all of them, plant sims. I forget they're there half of the time. And technically, in a way, skeletons are there too, but I forget them too. So, yeah, those two, I guess, would be on the bottom. But the ones that are more, like, that I actually don't forget, it'd probably be mermaids. There was so much more that I wish mermaids had that they don't have, but I sort of already talked about mermaids. If we want to talk about mermaids again, maybe I'll do another update thing with mermaids. But the other occult that has been brought in is robots. And honestly, the robots were pretty decent. I just think it takes a really long time to build them. So much effort and time to build them. I remember, and I don't know why I closed my book, but I remember when because I had to build the robot for the, like, occult experiments thing I did, where I had the different occults in a house together, and I just left them playing to see who would survive the longest, which, spoiler, most of them did, sadly. So yeah, I really hated how much it took to build this stupid robot, and there wasn't a way around it that I could find. I admit, University is probably the pack that I've least fooled with. I've even fooled with Eco Lifestyle, more so, and Nifty Knitting a little bit more, well, yeah, no, because I technically never moved a sim into University, because when University came out was, like, during that time when I was taking my break and there was a lot of other things going on, so I actually didn't touch Sims much when University came out. So I've had most experience from University from building aspects more than anything. But yeah, when I did do that, I realized how hard it took to make a robot, which is sort of fine to some degree in terms of actually playing. So, like, if I was doing an LP or just my own gameplay of trying to work on it, making all the individual, because, like, you had to make parts to make other parts, and you had to have so many of them to make this robot. And in some ways it makes sense, but it's almost like they made it too excessive, and I feel like that's a word that Sims 4 can be used to describe itself a whole lot. Especially with the stupid NAPs. I have recently realized how annoying those things are. But anyway, it's like to an excessive amount, more than it should, more than it really needs to be. And I feel like maybe there should have been ways around it. Like, if you were a really rich sim, you can go and buy those parts, or, like, stuff like that, or, like, a cheat for them. But I didn't find a way around it, and if they're in, like, that debug menu for the live edit objects, I couldn't find them. So, yeah, it was a little bit hard and frustrating to make the robot, for only the robot to be one of the only ones who had died in that experiment, and it actually died very early on because it was so stupid and just stayed in the rain. So, yeah, it was a little strange, but I feel like one of the things I did want with robots that didn't come is I wanted the chance for cyborgs. So, part robot, part human. That was the main thing that I really sort of wanted, or at least robots that were more human-esque in features. That's what I was sort of hoping for to come with robots, not just simply the robots. But I do think in general, overall, the robots were done pretty well. But overall, when looking through my thing, minus the cyborg part of things, they did actually do quite a bit of the stuff that I was saying I feel like robots should have. The ability to eventually update themselves and fix themselves and stuff like that. And, having to charge and all that stuff. A lot of that stuff they did. Like, looking at my thing, a lot of the stuff that I mentioned just for full-on regular robots is there. The only parts that are not there is anything dealing with the cyborg aspect. So you would have some human qualities and some robot qualities and stuff like that. Also, when the robot died in the storm, if I remember correctly, he only died because he was getting wet. And he was, slowly, his parts were getting messed up, like the electrical parts, because of the water. But I never once seen him hit with lightning, and one of the things I wrote down is if you have seasons that their lightning is highly attracted to them, he never once got struck by lightning. And he was standing still for a very long time because eventually, his parts stopped working because of the rain, so he just froze up outside. No one went to try to fix him. And he just stood out there. And I'm pretty sure he never once got struck by lightning. Come on, he's made of full metal. He's nothing but metal and electricity. I mean, I'm sure there's some rubber in there for the wiring and stuff like that, but still! Why didn't he get struck by lightning? But that's, one of those things that may have been more on the graphic side for how Sims 4 is nowadays. Or Sims. I mean, Sims 4 all in general, but Sims nowadays. I feel like there was more juicy things and more scandalous things and more iffy things in Sims 2 and 3 and such. But, not for Sims 4! Also, this is a really random note. I really want to play, Sims Bustin' Out again. I've had this urge. Sims Bustin' Out and Sims 2 on the consoles and Sims Castaways. I really just want to play those. That's some of the Sims I miss. I love my computer Sims, don't get me wrong, but I liked when the console version of the game was different from the PC version of the game, and they actually made, little storylines and things that you could do while also having a side that you could just sort of be like the PC version. So I'm sort of sad that there isn't a version of Sims like that anymore. They don't do Herbs or Castaway or Bustin' Out or any of that stuff now, and makes me sad. Anyway, that's a total other note out of this occult discussion, so I'm gonna return to the occult discussions now. Okay, so now going on to, more of the comments that were made on a few of the videos. Not all of my occult discussions videos have comments on them, which is fine. I'm not much of a commenter myself either, but, yeah, so, anyway, I am going to touch base on the ones that do have comments. My zombie one actually has 2 comments on it, and both of the people, which one was Scarlet Hope and the other was James Seymour, both of them did mention, I do know that one of them mentioned it, but while looking back on it and reading, both of them actually mentioned the whole, spellcaster thing, and how they would like to see that the spellcasters have the ability to make zombies or turn people into zombies and stuff like that. Like I said, I would really like maybe not only be able to a chance to make them, but also if they were bringing someone back to life and they were trying to fully bring them back to life, maybe a chance for the spell to go awry, and turn them into a zombie instead of back into a normal sim. And apparently, specifically, the Scarlet had mentioned that there was a spell called zombification in Sims 3. I forgot how the zombies in Sims 3 worked. I don't think they were playable necessarily, but I would definitely like for zombies to have a chance to be playable. I definitely would like I mentioned in the zombies video, for them to have a way to sort of be almost like a normal sim, but obviously they're not. And then the version of them that goes more into that old school type zombie, where it's the more decaying, rough-looking zombie and stuff like that if they go unfed for a while or something like that. So, I definitely would like to see that and like that to be on a playable stance. But I knew that there was some way to be turned zombie or make zombies or whatever. But yeah, she's talking about the spell and it actually was from Sims 3. So there was already a connection in between the witches and zombies in Sims 3, which I apparently forgot about. So I would definitely like them to bring that back and maybe change it a little bit, like who was talking about. Both of them also bring up the Happy Haunts pack, which it was the option to be voted on. I think it was the second one after, it was the second runner-up compared to the one that we got, Nifty Knitting, and both of them actually mentioned maybe bringing zombies in with that pack, which would be pretty cool, but I feel like if they were to do that, it could no longer be a stuff pack, which is what they were planning on doing with that. Which, who knows, they might still do it since it was so close, but maybe they'll add more to it or something like that, and make it maybe a game pack. If it was a game pack, I would love for zombies to be included in that. I don't ever want an occult to be anything in any stuff pack. The only thing that I would say for that is, like I mentioned with the pets and creatures, that maybe could be a stuff pack, but as far as playable occults, I definitely would want them to be in a game pack or expansion pack. So if they did a Happy Haunts game pack, yes, zombies would be a whole lot of fun. And James even mentioned bringing in, talking about the ways to customize them and having archetypes, and even mentioning like Hocus Pocus and Michael Jackson's Thriller relations. So that could be a fun way. They could also bring it into Happy Haunts and sort of have some theme items for the zombies as well as some just regular items for the zombies as well. So that would be pretty fun. Also, James mentioned later on, I replied to him, and they mentioned on a later reply that there is technically a mod out there for zombies, which I knew there was, but I think there's more than one mod, to be honest with you. But I haven't used any of them, because when it comes to the cults, though, as much as I've thought about it, I've seen some for the robots that's more like cyborgs. I've seen there's like a fairy one out there. I've seen the zombie ones. As much as I really want these in my game, and I've contemplated getting the mods before, when it comes to something like the cults, I would prefer it to be an EA, a Maxis thing, so that it's more fitting, even though, you know, there's a lot of pugs in Sims 4 as it is, but you know what I'm trying to say. Just cause, but, you know, hey, maybe if I actually give these mods a try, maybe I'd be proven wrong, but that's why I just haven't really bothered with them. When it starts getting into the really big mods that change a lot of things, that are, like, stuff like that, other than, like, MCC and UI extensions and stuff like that, in Slice of Life, I use all three of those, but when it comes to, like, some of the other ones that are changing a lot of stuff and adding stuff and all that stuff with occults or worlds or things like that, I'm a little bit wary of putting them in there because I already have so much CC and stuff in there. I don't want to fry my computer. But they mentioned in the mod that they actually have made a PG-friendly way for zombies to actually eat brains, and basically there's like a puff of smoke that happens in it, and it sort of covers it up, which would be easily a way that they could easily do it. And you could still also have, like, the, as they refer to it, talking about the vegan-friendly version, where, you know, there was like a synthetic brain material or a plant. Both of them refer to, well, sort of like some way, like either synthetic. One mentioned the synthetic brain, while the other mentioned a fruit like the plasma fruit, but maybe a little bit different. So, you know, that could be ways to be a type of zombie that didn't attack other Sims. Also mentioning in the replies with James that they definitely should not, which I think I mentioned in the video, they should not attack other occults because that wouldn't make sense, especially the vampires, those type of cults. Is Ghost technically counted as an occult? Is that... I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so, because, especially in those cases, they're already dead. So, I don't really know how good that brain would be. So, but yeah, I definitely think zombies shouldn't attack other occults to get it. It definitely should just be the normal Sims. But if zombies come, we'll see what happens. So going on to my werewolves one, which technically was before the zombie ones, but the way I'm looking through the comments, I'm actually using the YouTube Studio app, which is sort of an easier way to look at comments. And lately my comments was not appearing in my notifications on my regular YouTube app or even on my computer. So I figured out there was the Studio app, and it seems to be notifying me to every comment, so it's been helping me a lot better. And basically James Seymour also had commented on the werewolf one, but they commented on it after the zombie one, so I didn't see it until after I looked at the zombie comments. But they did mention how they would like to see the bipedal werewolves, and that they definitely like to see the werewolves done more like the vampires. I think the vampires is a very good way on how they did the occults, and they should always reference back to the vampires and just change it a little bit to fit that occult, because they did vampires really well for Sims 4, I will say. And I definitely agree, I would like there to be a similarity with the werewolves. A lot of times werewolves and vampires are commonly grouped together anyway, so I really would like werewolves to come at this point, especially now that they have witches, because a lot of shows that I've watched also have incorporated vampires, witches, and werewolves together as like a trio type thing going on. So I feel like now that we got both spellcasters and vampires, we almost need werewolves just to finish it off. I didn't play with the werewolves in Sims 3 too much. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that in my video. They didn't fully appeal to me at first, and I didn't play Sims 3 and like Sims as much during that time frame when Sims 3 was out. For a few different reasons. One, timing. I'm pretty sure Sims 3 was out came out around the last years of my high school and into the first years of college. So I didn't play Sims 3 as much as I probably would have liked to. And I focused more on the fairies and the vampires and the witches when it came to supernatural. But I do know that, just the werewolves didn't just seem that appealing. I wish there was more options for the werewolves. So that is one thing, I definitely think they need to do it very similar to Sims 4's vampires, so that there's different types of, maybe there's different looks for different werewolves and different types, and I'd definitely like to see how the Kratos would go, and that's how they're mentioning they want to see how the Kratos would sort of look for that, so I definitely would. I think I mentioned in my video that I would almost like a wolf, more wolfish state for the werewolves. I know a lot of people would actually like the bipedal ones. I don't remember which one they did in Sims 3, in all honesty. Like I said, I really did not pay attention to the werewolves in Sims 3 much at all. But, so yeah. But on that note, they easily could technically bring in 2, and maybe depending on, how, maybe there's a purebred line and not a purebred line, or maybe there's one pack that if you're part of, you're gonna get the bipedal one, and a pack that you get the four-legged one, so you have your options. That would be really cool, and that'd be really fun, and something I really didn't think about when first doing the werewolves one. It would give us more option, and also give us more ways to play with the werewolves, and come back to it and see what different perks maybe you can get if you choose the bipedal pack versus the quadpedal pack. Is that a word? So yeah, that could easily bring in 2 different types of gameplay along with the werewolves, and replayability with the werewolves and stuff like that, and some unique differences and stuff. Like, maybe the bipedal is stronger because they have their arms and stuff like that, but the quadpedal is a little bit faster. Stuff like that, but definitely would be interesting to see if they did something similar to that, and the Kratos definitely would be interesting. I'd definitely like to be able to choose different fur types and stuff like that, and wolf-looking types, because there's several different wolves out there that maybe your werewolf looks more like. So, it'd be interesting. I definitely think werewolves at this point, werewolves and fairies are the 2 main ones that I really think at this point should come. Though I'd really like to see zombies and elves, and honestly, pretty much all of them to some degree. But yeah, I feel like those make the most sense, and those are the ones that need to more likely come than any of them. But we'll see. We'll see what Sims does. So when it came to the fairies one, I did have 2 comments. One by Smurfette Sims, and the other by Ariara. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I can't pronounce things when it's a normal, something I stare at all the time. So, and I know when it comes to names and stuff like that, sometimes people have a special way of saying them. So, sorry if I said that wrong. But, and you're watching them. Both of them seem pretty excited to have Fairy Smurfette talks about how the fairies would be sweeter than the pixies, and that's how I would want it to be if they did include a fairy form and a pixie form, or like at least the option to sort of lean more towards one or the other. I definitely would like the troublesome thing for the pixies and the sweetness of the fairies more so than others. But one of the things that Ariara said was actually in occults in general, because in this video I had mentioned about the kids, and that's because I feel like occult kids are lacking. They just seem like normal Sims, and I get that they can't do everything, but I still feel like they should give the kids at least some things from the occults and just keep adding on each life stage. Like the toddler only has like 1 or 2 things, and the kid gets a few more things that are relating to the occult, and so on and so forth. Like, you know, add to it so that when you see them, it still looks like the occult. Like the fact that Mermaids kids don't get a tail until they're like a teenager just baffles me so much, because it seems like mermaid is your normal all the time state and not something you should grow into. But I do know that some shows almost played it that way. Like mermaids were able to live a normal life until they were like 16. I think that's how a lot of shows do it. But still, that annoys me. Like, I just don't like it. But she had talked about like, if there was different interactions for the kids in some ways. Like, you can, like, especially, like, you know how you get, I think it's with Parenthood, you get, like, the calls from the teacher or the school or whatever, and stuff like that. And, she talked about a teachable moment for your vampire kids. Like, kids, don't attack your teachers, type thing. That would be hilarious, and that would be fun, and it'd just be a little quirky little thing that would give a slightly different something for the kids. And like, yeah, you have to worry about other things that other parents don't have to worry about. Your kids slowly growing into their vampire teeth and wanting plasma. Like, oh, I gotta teach them, they just can't do that whenever. And like the mermaid, you easily like teach them how to learn how to swim properly with a fin and stuff like that. Things like that for occults would be fun. So that technically wasn't just for fairies, that was for all occults. And I definitely would love those little moments with the occult kids, if we can just teach them things that pertain to their occult. Like, yeah, you may not make them a full-on fairy or a full-on vampire or a full-on mermaid for that kid, but at least if you had these things, at least that would be a little bit more feeling like the kid was still that occult and not just a normal kid. Like, you had to start teaching them these things to prepare them when they go into full vampire or full mermaid or full fairy. So that would be fun, and I wish those things were there. There'd be little quirky, innocent little things that I would love it. And then on to my elves video. So Scarlet Hope replied to the Sims 4 Occult elves, saying that she never really considered elves before, but now I apparently got her thinking. I'm sorry. This is, when it comes to occults, I just want to keep talking about them and make people think that is the point of these. So I'm glad you're thinking, but sorry if I made you overthink. But anyway, she definitely liked the idea of the longer lifespans and stuff, and she brought out like things with moodlets, which I forget about moodlets and stuff like that. But with the elders, like, not being able, like, it being harder for them to get the, physical exhaustion movement, or they don't get it at all, or, like, you know, it has to be a lot of physical things, which I definitely, like, I forget moodlets, but that would be a very good point, especially for elves, because they don't age as much, and even when they get to those older ages, they don't seem like they're that old, so things like those moodlets, I don't really think or consider them into effect sometimes when doing these occult things, but that would be a really good point and something that I would like to see. And it would be a different way to play your elders if you were playing an elder elf versus a normal elder. Like, you would be more worried, but then your elder elf could go out and do all these different things and it not be as a worry for them or whatever. So that would definitely be a little interesting thing that would be cool. And plus, they just don't do much with the elders anyway. It seems like a lot of times, other than like some clothing here and there, which obviously it's still in the young adult category, but, you know, some clothes I think were supposed to be more geared towards the elderly, but at the same time, the elderly just don't seem to get much of a focus anyway. So if they did add some individualism for the elders for these occults, because elves definitely eventually get elder, they're not like the vampires, they're not immortal, so, and they don't, like, the vampires, they just don't age, technically, but, elves do, but that would still be something to give the elders something different. So I like that little idea, and I definitely thought that was worth mentioning, because the fact that you're thinking about elders is nice, because it doesn't seem like the Sims team thinks about the elders too often. And that technically is it for the comments. I feel like this video is going to be going very well. I've been recording for a bit. I don't know how much in between times of me scrolling through that I'm going to get to cut out and stuff like that and thing. So hopefully this video isn't too long, but yeah, it's gonna be a little bit longer. Let me know if there's any other thoughts that you feel like should be added on to any of the occults that I've mentioned before. Like I said, there is gonna be a playlist link, also individual links if there's this particular video. If you really want to hear about elves more than the others, there is gonna be individual links for all the occult discussions before I made this update video. There was no comments on the dragons or the honorable mentions or the pets and creatures. Obviously, like I said, I actually recorded this the same day as the pets and creatures one, so that one hasn't even come out, so that one hasn't had a chance to have comments on it yet. And their honorable mentions has only been out a few days. So obviously, especially with how my channel is, I know comments come in a little bit slower than other people, so if those are going to have comments, they haven't been out at all or long enough to really get them. So, yeah. If those ones do get comments, I will definitely probably do an update video after so many more videos. So don't worry, if you still want to comment on those videos, I will definitely reply to you, and I also will probably be doing an update video on those as well. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, hit that lovely like button and all that YouTube goodiness, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!